It's nice with the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Very cool. Really?
I've been seen with worse things.
And my friend said I put it up here.
So do we get to go?
That's a good idea.
The big word with you and I Art, was seemingly. Remember? Seemingly so. Yes.
Want to reverse Kaiser?
Maybe we'll do a talk about
Do
that.
not dare this one. No.
Well, that's her dad. I know. Really? Yeah. Very funny.
I don't know, I haven't met him yet, he's coming in.
It's funny to see people you've only seen on Zoom. Yes.
That good?
It's strange. I'm gonna go like this. Move the squares.
Paul, I went to a meeting this morning, the live version of one that I've been going to on Zoom for 2 years, and it felt like I was inside the TV box looking out at everybody on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
From the
yeah.
live side, it was
Yeah,
weird.
it's
It was
trippy, yeah.
surreal.
It's trippy, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back is trippy, yeah. It was, when I first went to, we're not gonna start yet, right? When I first went to a Zoom meeting, AA, it was just, you know, you could mute.
You can use that for your.
You could just be doing something else, and I didn't like that. You know, because a lot of times, you don't, because of the principle, you don't take that choice. You're just there. Right, and so why that someone goes off for 50, you can go be doing.
Hi, Anu.
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
Did we lose that connection, I guess,
think-
with Paul?
I think Paul dropped off of his own meeting.
It's always like yeah, that's pretty funny. Where are you, where do you live, Gary?
What's that?
Where do you live? What part of the
I
country?
actually live in California,
You do? Where in California?
in the foothills. I think he's back.
Okay.
But he's muted.
You're muted, Paul. We're definitely going to get nothing from this one.
So we're driving like 40 minutes, and then she realized that she was going the opposite way. She forgot where her house was. Yeah. And it used to happen with technology still. Somehow we don't have a great relationship with technology. I'll do something and it just goes off. Yeah. So it's trippy, but these people in Toronto, the same thing. He must have picked me up 5 times. Always got lost going to his house. I swear to God. And then I realized we never got there. We never got there straight away. So I looked up like on a waves to see how much time it takes to get from the airport to his house. Yeah, and then I could see, wait a minute, it said 20 minutes. And it's like 40 minutes and that's it. Yeah. There's things going on, you know. Didn't you ever have it like when you were gonna go on a trip and then some big thing happens that you weren't expecting, like the day before? Yeah, there would be some chaos.
Oh,
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, Mike.
Yeah, we're recording, so.
All right, well, nice to see Art. Very happy to see Art and everyone else here. Thanks for coming. It's a little overwhelming, really, to see everybody in this living room. We were talking, Kurt was mentioning someone who, a psychiatrist or psychologist that was, you know, helping people's conditions, yeah, and there's value in that, yeah, but the message of non-duality is really questioning that primary condition. Are you what you think you are? Yes, that's what it's questioning. And so it presents this assumption that the seeker is the sought. It's not the seeker and the sought. The seeker is the sought. Yeah, so it shrinks the thing. So there's not a subject that's attempting to find an object, let's say. Yeah, the seeker is the sought. What's looking is what you're looking for. Yeah. And being ourselves reality, the greatest mystery is reality wanting to attain reality. Yeah. So the whole assumption is there's no need to arrive because you've never left, so to speak. Yeah, like the famous yoga thing. C pointed out to me, it's translated many ways, but I was speaking in a yoga studio in Pennsylvania, Philly, and they had something written on the wall, and it was the famous "Gone, gone, gone to the other shore," upon arriving on having never left. That's the spirit of non-duality. Yeah, that's what you find. If you believe for years that you were working towards an arrival, when you arrive there, it tells you it's always been that way. So it just negates the whole journey to the place you thought you arrived at, because when you finally arrive at that place, it tells you on having never left. Yes. It's so sudden because it takes no time to arrive at where you are. Yeah, that's the thing we miss. Yeah, because it takes time to feel like you're Paul. Yeah, yet being what you are takes no time. So you can't recognize it from something after it. Yeah, what you're not can't see what you are. It's impossible. So the whole message of non-duality is a form of negation. It's not saying anything affirmative. It's just negating something else, which is this idea of two-ness, which is the basis of our experience. Yeah, there's a seeing, and the seeing is claimed by the mental state to imply there's a seer seeing. That's the two-ness. Yeah, so out of nothingness, out of just seeing, yeah, this it's not an act of seeing it, there's just seeing. And there's no one that's doing the act of seeing, there's just awareness, yeah? That awareness, the mental state claims to imply there's a seer and a seen. And in the emphasis of the seer and the seen of the two-ness, there's a seeming underappreciation of the seeing. Yeah. So the seeing is there, but it's not being attended to. The emphasis is on seer seeing. And then the narrative of the head is completely based and reinforcing the seer seeing. Yeah. So in a way, they can't erase the seeing, but they do the next best thing. They just divert any attention to the two poles, yeah, to the two extremes, seer seeing. And in the emphasis of seer seeing, we forget the seeing. Yeah. And so suddenly that which is happening is seen as it's happening to me. Yeah. So basically it's called self-centeredness. We start looking at everything as how everything pertains to me. And that me that we're using it to pertain to isn't us. Yeah. That's the assumption of non-duality. That's the invitation. So when you get the invitation of non-duality, it's not a draft, it's not a conscription. It's just saying, you know, we don't believe this to be true. We don't believe there's a seeker and the sought. We believe there's the seeker is the sought. Yeah. We don't believe that what you're looking for is somewhere out there or up there or below there. That what's looking is what we're looking for right now. That what's looking with no 50 pages of requirements to meet. Yeah. And no levels and grades to be, all right, I finally reached a grade that I'm what's looking. No, you're what's looking right now. Yeah. So what's looking is what you're looking for. That's the assumption. Just like in recovery, Bill W. says, why are you in so much fear today? Isn't it because self-reliance has failed you? That's the assumption. The assumption from AA is that the self-reliance is causing the fear that you seem to be suffering in. Yeah. So if you keep concentrating on the fear without seeing its cause, you're going to keep having fear. Yeah. And it's not even fear, it's anxiety. Well, in the same way, this is the assumption of non-duality, being our cell's reality. Now, very, you know, most people do not start there. They're not starting being our cell's reality. They're starting at, shit, it's not working out. I'm going to seek reality with the hopes that things would work out better if I knew reality, because I'm going to blame on my not knowing reality that it sucks. Yes. But all the while, your reality seeking reality, which Ramana would very nicely say, that's the greatest mystery. The greatest mystery is reality wanting to attain reality. How could that fly? Yeah, there must be an activity that's going on that's seemingly, as Art would say, it's appearing to something that it's something else. Or let's say it's appearing to nothing that there's something else. Yeah. And therefore we start from that something else. And from that something else, it makes total sense to look for reality, because we're hoping to get relief as that something else. We've tried a lot of other shit. So we finally, okay, let's go with reality. Yeah, because we're trying to find an advantage, like that person, they're not questioning condition, they're trying to make the condition better. So self-centeredness isn't getting questioned, and most modalities don't question it. Yeah, we start here and then we work towards a goal. And usually it entails a lot of purification, a lot of fucking giving up stuff, you know, practicing your innate nature, which is mindfulness as a practice. I'm going to become mindful. Mind is mindful. Be of mind. Yeah. So we're using what we are to work towards what we are as what we're not. That's the assumption. And non-duality presents it. People present it. And it's sort of like laying out some shoes. Put your freaking foot in there and see if it fits. Yeah. So if the statement, whatever can be perceived, can't be perceiving from Hoang Po, put it there, just let it sit and just have it sit right next to the narrative. And you tell me, does the narrative in one's head start from that premise? It starts from the exact opposite premise. It's saying all day that that which is can be perceived is what's perceived. Yeah. So Paul is what's seeing. Paul is what's hearing and tasting and touching, when it isn't Paul that's seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. You can't see what's perceiving because it's not of a body, yes? So the mental state attributes something it has nothing to do with as an attribute the body has. So your whole storyline, when seeing is noticed, I'm the seer. When hearing is, I'm the hearer. Doing, I'm the doer. Thinker, I'm the thinker. Now you won't go across some lines, sort of like you don't really, sit and complain about your digestion as the digester. You don't say, I fucking ate that pizza on Tuesday and I thought I was going to get to it last night, but I didn't. I had some ice cream. I got to go home. I got to digest for a few hours. Yeah, no, you don't think that. And no one thinks they're pumping or beating the heart. They don't. They're not saying, I'm beating the heart right now. The heart is beating, yes, but they don't believe they're beating the heart. So there is thinking, but they don't believe they're the thinker. Yeah. But the head does. The head says the thinking implies that there's a thinker. So now you become the owner of thoughts and suddenly they can own you. Yeah, really, look at your day. The difference between a problem and my problem is huge, huge. My implies a certain ownership. Yeah, and yet it's a two-way street. If you decide or you think that you can own the thoughts, they can own you. Yeah, you own the feelings own you. You own the actions own you. The head can cultivate in mind 40 years of guilt based on an action that you were driven to do through alcoholism or addiction, yet it's still farming guilt and shame right now. That to me is the bondage of self, really. Yeah, we're bonded to these assumptions or understandings that are mistaken. Yeah. And we're trying to get out of those understandings as the understanding. That's why there's no escape. You can't escape from an imaginary place. And that is the assumption of non-duality. The assumption of non-duality is you and I are what we're looking for. Yeah. What's looking right now is what we're looking for. If you don't, you don't have to agree or not, but at least be clear that's the presentation. Non-duality isn't, hey, bro, mix a little non-duality with some tantra and then maybe this and that, you know what I mean? And so when the shit hits the fan, you say, well, no one, I didn't do it, yes, as a way of trying to escape. It doesn't freaking work, yeah? Because non-duality isn't attempting to make better the condition that's imaginary. It's just standing there. Yeah, there's nothing new in it every year. It's the same old invitation, and it just stands there on that premise, being ourselves reality. That's why all the other shit is happening. Everything is rooted, just like Bill W. says, why are you in so much fear today? Isn't it because self-reliance has failed you? Yeah. There it is. That's, now you can agree with it or not, but you can't say it's something else. That's non-duality is that. Non-duality is a negation of something that we're not. And in that way, in that negation, there's a finding out of what you are, because you can't know what you are. You can't, because you are it. You can't experience what you are because you are it. You can't study what you are because you are it. Yeah. Now you can study everything else because you're not it here. But in this one situation, you can't apply the things that you apply to everything else to this. It doesn't work because you are it. That's the assumption. That's the premise of non-duality. You are it. Yeah. And so they go off on tons of stories. They go off on the story with the lady who had this lovely necklace and then she loses it and she gets completely bummed out. Yeah. And she's so bummed out, some of her friends recognize it and they go, what can we do for you? She said, can you help me find the necklace? So they start searching to find the necklace and they're not doing that well. Yeah. And that we'll come to that later. And so then they hear about some guy in the hills that swears he found the necklace and can show you how to find the necklace. So they go do this heavy pilgrimage. They get there and the guy's speaking as if he found the necklace, and he's speaking as if he can show you how to find the necklace. Not right now, but if you stick with this process in this program, yes? And so now she has all her friends and him and everyone looking for the necklace. And then some character shows up in her life and goes, hey, what's going on? She says, I'm so burnt out and bummed out. I have so much longing and earnestness to find the necklace. So the guy goes, well, feel your neck. And finally, the simplest thing that was completely being missed, she touched the neck and there was the necklace. So suddenly she has this huge shot of joy. She found the necklace. But was that joy, was that finding the necklace the cause of the joy? It wasn't, because the necklace had never gone anywhere. And her being bummed out when she believed she lost the necklace had nothing to do with the necklace, because it didn't get lost. Yes? What is that but dreaming? What is that a fact can be seen over, and you can get totally flipped out about something that actually hasn't happened? Look at people's heads. We're making shit out of nothing all day. So this lady had this whole story. She was totally bummed out. She lost it, and then elated when she found it, but she hadn't lost it. But the thing is, for her to have that rush of elation for finding it, she has to believe she lost it. Yeah. And what happens a lot of times, there's the belief you lost it, and you don't get to the opportunity of finding it. You just keep looking, and you never get the rush. That's why I think drug addiction is much better than fucking spiritual addiction, because at least you're going to get a rush. I mean, I can shoot cocaine and I can feel it in a second. You know what I mean? It's a bad gamble to try to find something that's not lost. Yeah. So these things, why would they say all this shit for? Because the mental logic doesn't get it. And the mental logic is something that there's not a we, but it has a big role here, where when the mental logic sees an action, all it can see is there must be an actor. Yeah, it doesn't see verbs. The seeing of the verb immediately implies there's a noun somewhere. Yeah, and in this case, the verbs come first. The noun is made up, but then the noun is presupposed, and now it's the one that's doing all the verbing. So we used to make a joke, an absurd thing about going back east and hadn't been there in a while. And one guy who knew me walked in and he said, hey, Paul, you're growing your hair, because my hair got longer. Yeah. And so I said, oh yeah, Bill, I'm growing my hair. And he was going bald. I'm going, you're not doing well. You know, we got a group you can join every Saturday. We grow our hair together, and I'm getting good results. Come on, Saturday 9 to 11. You know what I mean? And you can go on, and I have so much pride in it. And I got a line of shampoos and shit like that. But basically, all I did was not cut it. I mean, not not cut it. That's it. I had nothing to do with the growing of it. But listen to the language. It's constantly saying all day ad nauseum that you have a lot to do with a lot of stuff you have nothing to do with. You don't think it's having an effect? Yeah, you would believe, why would they do these robocalls? It seems like a lost business, but they must be fucking getting an effect. They're fucking doing it forever. I mean, my best friend is Scam Likely. Scam Likely calls me 6 or 7 times a day. Yeah, you never answer, but they keep calling. So it's working somehow. Yes. So this stuff is going on and on and on and on. And the seemingly so isn't seemingly so to us. We think it's real. Yeah. And therefore, giving it a reality, it whacks us with its reality that we gave it. Yeah. There's a famous line or a couple of sentences in the Course in Miracles, which is, you and I, again, stating the fact of what's going on. You and I are the dreaming of the dream. Yeah. That's our role as this. Yeah. We are the projector of the dreaming. Yeah. We're not in a dream. We are the dreaming. We are it. Yes. So you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming. See, Doesn't mean the dreaming stops. We forget that we're the dreaming. How do we forget that we're the dreaming? We become identified as the dreamt, yeah? So now Kaiser, which is seen in a mirror or in those pictures or whatever, yes, is now the dreamt, all the while being the dreaming, yeah? So now this new condition has gotten an opportunity, all right? The forgetfulness of the dreaming by the identification as the dreamt, and suddenly all that I'm dreaming, yeah, now has the ability to affect me. So I'm dreaming thoughts, I call them mine, now those thoughts can ruin my day. Yeah, incredible. And therefore the dreamt wants to get out of the situation, but the dreamt can't get out of the situation, it's of the situation. It's not in the situation, it's of the situation, yeah. It can't leave it, yeah. It can't go anywhere. So I know I tried my best. At least with drug addiction. I may have had holes in my spiritual resume, but my drug addiction resume, I was A+ and totally destitute. I'd do fucking anything. Yeah, and the same problem, but transcending. And I really wanted to transcend. I was willing to die with the hopes that before I died, I'd be free at least for a few seconds. And I figured if I shot the body into a fucking condition of overdosing on coke, there would be a few minutes or a few seconds that I would be free of Paul. But I'd be free of Paul as Paul. And it was such a drag when I'd wake up and the police would be there and the same old shit. I couldn't seem to get out. And I finally realized why I can't get out is I'm not in. This is the whole fundamental mistake. I'm not in that which I so much want to get out of. Yeah. And the wanting to get out of it was making it more in. Yeah. That's the biggest in of what we call in is wanting to get out of it. There's so much reality be giving to that thing that we want to get out of that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yes. So like we had this talk the other day with the, I did this event in Australia, like an 8-day therapeutic retreat, yeah, in 2001 or something. And they had a method, they had a methodology that they can induce cathartic events quite well, yeah. And every day after some talking and shit, they'd open up the big room and they put mattresses and everything. And they had this unusual thing that I got really into afterwards, which was there's all these people sitting on the periphery of the room. They didn't say anything. They were just holding the space. And then they start putting this music on and some people start going off. Yeah. So this one, maybe the 5th day, I was, and I wasn't interested in going off or not. It would just, you'd be compelled and you just go off. So this time I was crying and I was laughing and I kept saying, I can never get back. I can never get back, like I left God or something like that, I can never get back. And they, in the observers, like the ones who were running it, I was on a high level. They took me out of the room first. Walked me out. I can never get back. And they're going, yeah. And then after a few weeks later, I realized why I can never get back because I never left. My whole dilemma wasn't getting back. It was the idea I left. I had never seen that possibility. And that's what non-duality offers. It's saying being ourselves reality. Not ourselves becoming reality, being ourselves reality. A lot of things is, we're going to become reality. This is you are reality now. Yeah. So what happens? All the yes and no's, good and bads, that just so much judgment and so much shit in this little skeletal framework of self-centeredness starts fucking getting undermined. Yeah. You don't have to go through every room. You just take the floor away, F-L-O-O-R, and the floor away is us. And then shit starts changing, yeah? And you have the ability to observe and you have an ability to express what you've observed. Yeah, it's going to come through you, and you start seeing, you start knowing the tree by the fruit. You fell upon these ideas. They were pretty novel. You stoked it a little bit. You don't want to have too much interest because that reinforces what you're not. You stoked it up, the shit landed, and like we say in recovery, you find yourself in a state of being convinced. Being convinced of what? What I'm not. I'm never convinced of what I am. I'm being that. But I get convinced of what I'm not. Yeah. I see what I'm not. I'm aware of what I'm not. Yeah. So therefore now the freedom from the bondage of self is before the bondage, really. Doing all the drugs and shit was freedom after the bondage. The self was taken to be me, never threatened, yeah? And I wanted to get out of that self, unbeknownst to me as a self, the same self, yeah? But it was coming after the bondage. I wanted to get relief from the bondage of self, but the relief is before the bondage of self, yeah? You're not what you think you are. Thank God. And no one's going to say what you are. Well, they can, but I don't see that as a good pointer, because all you're going to do is have conceptions about what you are held as what you're not. So I'd rather just not speak at anything about all you are is this or that. Let's just see what you're not. Yeah. And it's not like you're not the thinking, you're not the thinker. There is thinking. Yeah. There is feelings, but there is no feeler. There is actions, but there is no actor. It's not about a denial of what's going on. It's a negation of what it's going on to or who's doing it. Yeah, that. And you suddenly that word my, that was so much meaning, comes from wherever we are over the bridge of my to what comes after. So my problem, money, whatever it is, the my changes whatever comes after. Yeah. It just changes the meaning of it. It doesn't change a letter in it. It just changes the meaning of it. So I could say, I'd like everyone here to have a lot of money, but I don't want you to have my money. Yeah. The my changes everything. And so all day we're living as if there's a lot of my. Yeah. And we're wondering why, even though you've heard the truth, it doesn't seem to be translating as the truth, because that hearing the truth has been claimed by what you're not. Yeah. And it tells you, you got to hear more. You don't. An invitation is dinner. Yeah. Here, now, really. And like we talk about, the thing is, we're at the dinner, it's out there, but we're looking the other way. We're looking at the kitchen door and surmising and speculating what's coming. It's already here. The whole fact is, the dinner's already here. All you gotta, and you as this point, this direction, it's not you in this direction. You're the expression of the direction. It's this direction can't go this way. That's why you see you're not this. Like our dog can really move its head. If I did what it did when I'd break my neck. This thing can't go and this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's captured in recovery with self can't get out of self, which is one of the most profound stuff in our community. What an explanation of a lot of what we've been doing. Self trying to get out of self. Yeah, and self can't get out of self. Why? First of all, you're not self. Yeah. If you were truly in somewhere, you could get out of it. So if you're not having success getting out of it, you better question, are you in it? Really? Or you're just going to beat the shit out of yourself. Yeah. That's what happened with me. Most times when things failed, which was their value, yeah, I'd go through years first of not seeing the failedness, but blaming. The self would just beat the shit out of itself. Yeah, it was a way of diverting any kind of clear seeing of the failure of that formulation. Yeah, you cannot find what you are. You can't be searching for it as what you're not. It's just going to reinforce what you're not. That's what it does. Yeah. If you see the story of a knower of God Yeah. The knower is emphasized every step of the way. God is very secondary. The knower of God is the agenda, really. I'm a knower of God. This is just so much simpler. Because you're already here. It's like the slacker dream. Yeah, you're already here. And really, it's a disarming call, as the Course in Miracles says in one of its paragraphs, I need do nothing. Yeah. That I need do nothing comes from where? It comes from being ourselves reality. It comes from the seeker is the sought. It comes from what's looking is what you're looking for. That's where I need do nothing comes out of. Yeah. You don't try to do nothing to arrive somewhere. It's an expression or a statement from somewhere. Yeah. I need do nothing. Why? Being ourselves reality. Yeah. Yeah. And then you do tons of shit. Yeah. But you don't take it that seriously anymore. And in my case, I saw that I had a lot of meaning given to spirituality. So as soon as I started to get used by this juice, I thought I've got to get better. You know, I've got to try to be at the face of this message. You know, it said, no, just read Yankee blogs, go to thrift stores, fucking look, you know, look for shit you can find. I don't need your help. Don't worry about it. Just sort of, yeah. And then things come clear. You see. See is the awareness. You become aware. It's not like you haven't been aware, but you become aware. Not because you've affirmed shit, but there's been a negation of stuff, really. Because really, it's not getting a new understanding. It's an understanding that negates the misunderstandings, really. The misunderstandings get questioned. It's not like, oh, I have 30 understandings and this one's going to come in. No. This understanding of non-duality questions the other understandings that we're holding, really. And usually when there's that comparison, they're seen through. When that's the only thing you hear, you can't know any better. Yeah, just like it says in Course in Miracles, the firm in faith in there's something else that we made to be ourselves. Why would we question it? If we gave it the job to tell us and inform us of what's going on, why would we question it until it really gets fucked up? That's why. Yeah. But now you can see it. You can see, you gotta, you know, when I was young and, you know, I was sponsoring an AA like the first few years, I would have a person just do it, a basic inventory, which was just a description of what you did. So you woke up at 8 o'clock, took a shower, drank a coffee, yeah, went to work, yeah. And then now see all that shit you did and then see what the narrative was saying. You don't do anything, you're fucking da 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 da. And you can see it's not even close to landing on the fucking, that, you know, it's not even landing at the airport that you are. It's just so off. You see it, and then you start realizing this is like a tape from 1983. You know what I mean? Just trying to change the nouns and the geography, but it's the same old fucking same old. Yeah. And people would be surprised that they did a whole lot during the day. When they had a story, they didn't do shit. Yes. And you started to see you need it. The head works with comparison. If this is the only possibility you have, there's going to be reliance on it. You have to have another possibility for that reliance to break so that faith can move to the infinite and not stay in the finite self. Yeah. And this isn't about improving our condition. It's questioning the one who has that condition. Yeah. Yeah. So any questions? No? Yeah. You never heard that one much. That's what we said in all the live meetings. People are going, no, it'd be a very fast window. Any questions? No. We were trained after a while. No one would dare ask a question. Remember, You are the answer. Yeah. And sometimes the questions, now I don't want to, because I need questions in Zoom, but a lot of times the questioner is delaying the recognition of you as the answer. Yeah. Yeah. You'd like to know before you are, but really you are, and the knowing is unnecessary. Really, yeah. The mental logic has the knowing. First know and then maybe become or you are. But in this case, you are. And then you have the knowing you need to know at that moment, whatever job you have or whatever seat assignment you find yourself in. Yes? But it's not arrived at by knowing. Yeah. To me, it's never arrived at, really. It's just a negating of that which loves to travel. Yeah. And it wants to see you as another place to arrive at. Yeah, like Hawaii or something. And it would be great if you were something other than what you are, but unfortunately, or fortunately, you are that. That's the stubbornness of non-duality, I feel. Yeah. So we don't have, I like to see people, and then if you're in recovery and stuff, you can be totally used to help to lighten up people's conditions. And it has its own value in that arena. Yeah, they're not antagonistic. You know, I'm not going to help anyone. No, it doesn't. There's something is going on, and then there's that which it's going on in, let's say. It doesn't negate anything in a sense. It just says, it's just instead of when this is going on in our heads, it blocks everything else off. But if the context totally gives the space for the content to keep appearing. Yeah, it's the content that doesn't want to admit any context because it's taking itself to be the context, which is erroneous. Yeah, so it has a job to block that shit off. The context doesn't. The context or the sky can allow anything to happen in it because it doesn't affect the sky. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mike. No one has a question here? No. When are we going to eat? Yes. Let's go.
Could you riff on love for a while?
Here we are. I think it's being expressed now. Yeah, so I rather observe love than riff on it. Yeah, or feel it. Yeah, but I don't like the word love really.
Why not?
It just has a lot of meaning. You know, it can get a little bit, it can swerve into emotionality and stuff like that. And in a way, I'm more drawn to the emptiness aspect of it.
And it's funny that it's treated differently than the word God, which a lot of people understand, like, don't take that in vain. But that's not used for love, even though they say God is love, right? So, you know, that difficulty, that's what we are. So I can kind of,
yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Why would that be different since God is love?
But I remember I'd been introduced to spiritual stuff. You know, there was love being presented a lot. And for some reason, I thought it was a little muddy. You know? Yeah. So I don't have much to say about it with it. Yeah. And yeah. I think there's emptiness, truly is the whole. And because it's empty, a lot of stuff can appear in it. And there can be love and all this. But I don't really believe, unless love is empty, yeah, that it's like the beginning and end of everything. I would say more emptiness is the feeling I have of it. Yeah. Yeah. Like a vacancy, but that's completely filled, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And if you read like the old Zen, Chinese Zen, they never use the word love and stuff like that. They call it mind, big M mind. And I think I'm in that camp more than the other. Because I feel that's the early Chinese Zen triggered a lot when I was introduced to someone like Huang Po, triggered. And so you really, like the fire you are is based on the matches that set it. And so, and love didn't set the matches off for me. That idea, yeah, like love everybody, everything. But what did set off the matches was sort of Huang Po and the idea of the nature of mind is emptiness. Yes, it's essence. Its nature is reflective, which is happening now, and then its manifestation is energy, which is the dreaming. Yeah. So, and again, I went to a lot of groups, and I felt love was muddied with other things. Yeah, and yeah. But that's just one non-person talking. Everyone has like you have a more, like I was with a woman when I was younger, she was a devotional type when I wasn't a devotional type. So she was into the love of the teacher. I was more into doing the meditation and stuff. Yeah. And just the nature of the action for you. So that's my riff.
Good riff.
But you're feeling it now, obviously. The space is very nice. Yeah. When everyone came first, the energy went up way high. So now it's sort of, because I'm not used to doing live talks like I used to be. And there is a neutering of the Zoom. And when you do live, you start feeling it a lot more energetically. Yeah. Could be the pajamas, I don't know. I'm in the Zoom, everything's Melusa. All right, anyone else? We can find
Oh, yes.
anyone on the Zoom wants to speak.
No hands up, I don't see any waving hands.
Oh, good, that would be great. Yeah. You see, the point is really, there's two things. Without knowing it, we're looking for what we are from what we're not. Yeah. And at the same moment, there's a possibility of seeing that from what you are. So you can see what you're not, looking for what you are from what you are. And then you see, and that has much more impact than thousands of words. You just recognize things. Yeah. Because you're not trying to look from the situation that's causing the confusion. You're seeing the situation from somewhere else or nowhere else, yeah? And there's an honest assessment from that perch. And the assessment for me just totaled, I'm not that, yes? I saw selfing. I don't even like the word self. I use it because of recovery. But selfing, I see it's a mental activity that implies you're already something you never were, nor will be. So it doesn't even bring you into the process of becoming a self. It says you already are, if you listen to it. It's saying your authenticity is already past tense set. You are a self. So basically, try to get out of it or get it better or whatever, but you're seemingly locked into that assumption that you already are that which you would like to maybe not be. Yeah. So what happens is it drives you to try to get out of itself as itself. And very, very few people see the self can't get out of self. They see a self they want to get out of. They don't see that that which wants to get out of it is also an aspect of self. Yeah. So their escape from the known and objectified self is another form of the slavery to self. Yeah. So to point out that possibility isn't something you learn, it triggers the knowledge in you. You already know it. You don't need to learn it. It needs to be triggered. Yeah. So the triggering in this is a meeting. So the meeting happens and it triggers a knowledge that you don't arrive at, you hear, and it tells you something that's already so. Yeah. It's not like it's not a school of study. It isn't. It's receiving an invitation and it matches. Yeah. Maybe it will explain everything that you've been trying to figure out since you were 6 or 7. It can do it in a second. It will tell you the whole theme of most of your life was captured by self, trying to get out of self. Yeah. With all different vehicles, but the same drive, the same purpose, different means. The purpose was self, trying to get out of self. Drugs, reading, movies, sex, spirituality, making lots of money, whatever. There's been a drive to get out of something, yeah? But as that something. And it's the act of being identified. You've never been identified, nor will you ever be identified. There's the act of being identified that the head is presenting. And it's telling us we are already that, yeah? And it's not true. It plays with a naive innocence. The action figure believes time is a linear event. It was a past, this present is like the intersection, and then the future, yeah? It goes like that, doesn't break. This mental movement of the selfing does something. It claims what's happening and implies there's a someone, and then it presupposes that someone before everything that's happening. So now, yeah, you believe that you're doing something that you never even did, yeah? And if you don't see it, because the way the mental logic thinks on that rail of past, present, future, it thinks there, it can't derail itself. Yeah, it can try to change the color of the train and shit like that, but it cannot derail itself. Self can't get out of self. Yeah. So how is there going to be an escape? By realizing there's nothing to escape from. That's basically the last answer I arrived at in non-duality, which actually took away any need for any other answer concerning this topic, because all of my other answers were supporting the premise that wasn't true. I, as Paul, is going to get out of Paul. I'm going to purify first. Take a long time. I'm going to do tons of shit and stuff. And I'm going to arrive at a bigger, better Paul. Yeah. Non-duality does not fit itself around your condition. It questions the condition that you think you're in. That's what it does, the basic one. It doesn't fit it. It doesn't say, all right, yeah, add me to this and that, you'll have a fucking potent superfood drink. Non-duality. No, it's just a fact. Yeah? It says not to. Now, I would think it would imply maybe having an interest in what two is would be helpful, because not two is a pretty profound statement. So forget the not, two is the thing. First, let's see, what is two? Because if it's not two, I think I need to know, because I may be calling two one. So it won't apply to me. Oh, not one maybe would apply, but not two. What are they talking about? There's only one Paul. I only see one reflection in the mirror, shit like that. But you are of two-ness. You are of subject object. You are of seer seen. You are of thinker thought. Yes. This is how it fools us. We're pictured as a single unit, long-lasting, independent, separate unit, one, but we're not. Our activity is completely two-ness. And that's what non-duality is negating. It's not negating the body, it's negating the identification as the body. Yeah. We were talking about that the other day, where, you lose all, you lose interest in the body. It's not that. You lose interest in the body as self. That's what you lose. And actually, you gain a lot more precise, clear, and beneficial interest in the body, not the over fucking indulgent, you're the center of the universe that needs to be thought about a lot. No. So you lose interest in the body as self. You don't lose interest in the body. Yeah. So.
You know, I think of like in the tradition, it says anonymity has immense spiritual significance. And that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I'm hearing like it's immense spiritual significance of this negation, of this what you've talked about, and how you started with the psychiatrist. I totally related to him when he said, I closed my business after 4 years because I realized I hadn't really helped anyone. Now, maybe the language could have been different, the way he said it. But the idea that he was articulating to me, I heard crystal clear because it's what I saw at 19 years after I read. I saw that for 19 years, I had been trying to be free from self as self. Now that information was not available until I saw it. And
Yeah.
as soon as I saw it, and you put language to it, as soon as I saw it, it was so clear that I could be free from it.
Yeah.
After drinking after 19 years, which totally go, well, no, because everybody, the message that was coming across was, well, no, you screwed up, you failed. But the message internally is, you just woke up.
Yeah. 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 Easy, hard, it doesn't matter. That's what things can show you is the failedness of it.
Well, and that's what
A lot of
Koya,
value.
that's what Koya said in 19 years. He said, he asked me a question. He said, let me ask you a question. 1986, were you serious when you took the third step? And I said, I couldn't have been more serious. He said, well, I'm going to explain something that you're not going to understand. And he said, all of this is part of that decision. The
Yeah.
drinking again, the collapse, the waking up, is all part of this big dance, cosmic dance.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that till I understood what I just talked about as far as the self. I thought, that's what he's done.
Yes. I was, I had a very bad understanding of why did I get run over twice that night? Once would have done it, I thought. Once, why did he have to crush this part? But I get, the same thing. Really, I figured enough's enough. That's what was needed. Yeah, obviously, or it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, because I really feel quite a lot. Everything has value, especially if you have that sense of the higher power. I mean, even in the Course of Miracles, it will say your greatest success or your greatest failures and stuff, because that was what was necessary to break something down that without a threat would just keep on keeping on. Yeah, so whatever it takes. It doesn't mean it has to go that way, but in our individual little expression, it had to go that way. But it doesn't mean it has to go that way. Yeah. Because then people make it a path and then I'm going to have to be destitute and fuck like that. I don't see it that way. It can do however it wants to get to where it already is, it can do. Yeah. So you can't map out the journey because it's not a journey, it's an expression. Yeah. To get to the point that it's not a journey. Yeah. So but I'm still a little pissed second running over me. Affected my yeah. So
Yeah, I might not have an electric bike unless you could run over.
that's right, you wouldn't have, because I had to come up with some ideas to yeah. I lost the surfing, the boogie boarding, and the bike and the hiking, like really.
That's true. It's like your story about taking the stuff to get to, what was it, to kill the intestinal bacteria, but you were feeding it.
Yeah.
And you're always saying how it was such a waste of money or whatever, but then you have the story, right?
That's right. It's an incredible story. And the thing is, it wasn't that standing on its own. It was an example of the same theme, about 8 or 9. I have 8 or 9 stories like that, where my best of intentions were doing the worst effects. Yeah. That's why I could say I could turn my life over to almost everyone in this room, not everyone, but some most of it. And you would do a better job with it than I would, because you don't have a vested interest in Paul. The vested interest is fucking mutated badly. Oh man, you know what I mean? You want to get that called off. Yeah, big time. So, but you just assume this shit, and then life just teaches you another way. It just shows that your best interests aren't going to get you where you like to go. So how about surrender? Yeah, to the higher power. That has been such a living theme in this action figure life, because I really felt I was given that a strong sample of surrender by getting struck sober. And then I could start surrender. I could have it surrendered. Yeah, you could grow into it. But without knowing what surrender was, all I had was ideas of what it would look like, you know? But I had no idea until it was. So it happened. So it's the same thing here. You need to hear possibilities. Some people get it with a lightning bolt or a near-death experience. Some people hear it, yeah? But if you don't hear it, how are you going to entertain it? You're just going to go on with the same old, because you don't know any better. But when you hear the message, to me, it's awesome. I mean, I feel everyone has a right to hear it. I don't care what you think about it, but I was so happy I heard it, to tell you the truth. Because it wasn't coming, it wasn't on billboards of shit. It wasn't something that was falling at my feet. I was led to it, and I heard it, and it landed, you know? And it's become the last answer in this life concerning a big topic, which was, how is Paul going to get out of Paul? Really? I mean, and I would do anything to get out of Paul. And yeah, and I didn't realize it was going to be doing nothing was the way to get out of Paul, because you're not in Paul. What? Yeah, that would be the last. That was the one rock I never looked under. It was always, I'll do anything to get out of Paul. How about how much you did to be in Paul? You know.
Do you remember where you heard the message? You say you heard the message?
Yes, I heard a message in, I think it was Berkeley, by a lady from East Europe, Neelam.
Yes.
Very nice lady. I actually had lunch with her at Ramana Maharshi's place in India, but she spoke very low. So I didn't hear anything she said, but I just felt something there. It was in a park in Berkeley. There was like 6 of us. And then I went to one she had in a house in Berkeley, and I could hear her a little better, and I just felt, and then that just introduced me to this little current of what was happening there. And I saw some people I liked, some people I didn't like. And then I decided, I read a book by Ramesh Balsekar, Who Cares? And it presented, he emphasized mostly the personal sense of doership. That was his way out, in a way. And it made a lot of sense, and I would just be reading and I would just stop. And it would, a lot of pauses throughout the book. And then I decided I'm going to go to India to see this guy, because he was 85 at the time, figured he was going to die soon. So I went to India and went to see him by myself and just hung out there. And then took a train down to Ramana Maharshi, Tiruvannamalai, stayed there for 3 weeks, and didn't know anybody, just hung out and heard other satsang. And you know, I was in a tent one day, and that day was the last day of questioning. I knew that, so it had reached a saturation. I didn't think I'd have a question, and I didn't really, in a sense. Yeah. So then, you know, I was in AA, and I had a speaking slot in AA, because I used to lead 4th step workshops since 3rd year sobriety. We used to have one in San Francisco at a place called the Dry Dock. We have a lot of people there every Monday night when I was in the country. And then the whole meaning changed because information was happening, you know, stuff was being revealed. And so first people would come in with a book and pen And then they realize we're not writing shit. I was just going off on this idea of there is, self as a parasitical something. And it's not a parasitical movement. It's a way of provoking an image of other. Because in a way, if there was a part of you that was seemingly all of you, you'd have to isolate that part of you as other to have a real reconfiguration. Yeah. You can't just say, oh, it's all of me, because no, there's a very little aspect that's dominating the rest of the aspect. So let's say I'm not that, yeah? So that a little attention and interest goes to the larger aspects, and then you start seeing, hey, you're not that, yeah, from what you are. And then you just see, you become aware of stuff and things hook up. And maybe there's like one hook, and then it expands like 50 hooks 1 second. So there's leaps. It doesn't go like a linear up a staircase. You hear one thing, you hear another thing, and then suddenly you've heard everything. Yeah, yeah. And so there's it's like 100 monkey phenomena. Yeah, you hear something to a point, and then it hits. Yeah, and now you're being introduced to a new basis, yeah, where you're going to look at life from some other point than the mental aspect. Yeah, yeah. And then you live that for a while, and you realize, hey, I'm traveling lighter through a lot of stuff that I used to not travel lighter through. And I really, really, really would do anything to get out of self when I was out there. I mean, literally. I didn't care what the consequences were.
That's the fruit, traveling lighters, that's the fruit. You're like, oh.
The fruit is, instead of trying to fit everything around you, you show up and fit yourself around what's happening. Yes? And you just go with it, just like we've never prepared for a talk. Why? How could I do that? How could I prepare for a talk? I mean, you can't, how could I prepare? What would I do and not do that would, you just fucking show up. Yeah. Yeah. And then a lot's revealed. And you have the eyes to see. Yeah. And I believe we all have that level of being convinced. And when you're convinced, it's like that whack-a-mole, the mole never comes back up. You're convinced the mole's out of the game. Yeah. So you're not whacking 9 moles. Now you're down to 2 moles. And there's long pauses where no moles are showing their fucking head. Yeah. So is it really whack-a-mole? No, it's not whack-a-mole. It's something else. You'll find out, but it's not whack-a-mole. Yeah. You get convinced, just like many of us in AA. The first step, you realize you are not managerial quality, and you were powerless. You were dancing with a gorilla. You were going to stop when the gorilla wanted to stop. That's a pretty good definition of powerlessness. And you come to admit that. And there's so much freedom there. Yeah, so. But the basis is the basis is the basis. Does some days are sunnier than others? Yes, but they're always, the sky is always this context, yes? So don't think the sky's gotta be sunny all the time. The sun may be coming into the sky, but it doesn't, it's empty, yeah? It has no quality of its own, it's just empty. It allows other qualities to appear because it doesn't have a quality to be in like antagonism about the other qualities. It doesn't have a quality. It's not of this place, yes? And I think, as Jesus says, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. I would say we're of the spiritual condition, not the physical, mental condition. We're in the physical, mental, seemingly, but we're not of it, yeah? But most of us have it the other way. We believe we're of the physical, mental, and then it compounds what we're in, yeah? Because we try to get out of the in as the in. Yeah, you see it? That's why it never works. We're trying to get out of the in as an in. The out of the in is seeing you're not of. You know, by seeing you're not of it, that's the out of the in. You look like you're completely in, but in a sense you're out of it. Yeah. Yeah. That's the effect of, that's what expresses traveling lighter, is that you've lost interest in self. Not as self, which would be interest in self. You've lost interest in self. Yeah. I don't think it needs much. It has just to cross wherever you're, you know, like our Toyotas, they both have fuel and they have thing, but they run differently. So one says it's empty before it's empty. The other one says it's more full than it actually is. There's everywhere we're sitting, there's gonna be that little point, yeah? That there isn't any the point, it appears to be whatever point there is with us. And then you get there, you arrive there seemingly, and some things get set. And there's no debate every 3 months or anything like that. You're just done. You're convinced, let's say, which allows what? Well, find out. Yeah. Find out. It's nice, really. It's like the mole. You don't need to whack it anymore. Without no mole, why do you need the fucking hammer? All right, put the hammer down. Yeah. You're now a free range alcoholic. You don't need to. Yeah. Yeah. And then of course we can go in it, but we want to eat. So, but there's doing service and there's being of service. It's a growth, and there's doing an activity that you're really built for in a sense. And then you realize you're of service, which is completely different than you're of something else and you're doing service. To get a little relief of that, you're of service. Yeah. And then you do service. Yeah. The service, you're not doing it to get out of something. You're doing it as an expression of what you're in, which is of service. Yeah. That's a different way of living, isn't it? Jesus Christ. It's much smoother. It's like the gear ratio is perfect. It just goes into gear perfect. Not only that, just slides into first, second, third. Yes, it's driving well. Yeah, because you're not the driver. That's the key. Yeah, we're gonna go because we got to eat, and so yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
I can. Yeah, oh, thank you. Oh, we'll have to pass the basket. We can't let these live people go. What? Do I need to do what?
Just say hi.
Oh yeah. Can I go here? Oh, all right. Let's use the big screen. Should I wear all this? I want to say. You want to pass a hat or something?
I'll pass something.
All right. I want to give out, there's going to 30 minutes of passing the hat. It's going to be there.
Sure, we're the screen.
It'll be weighed, and then until it hits the weight. Where am I going? Oh, yeah, all right. This? All right, let me see Anu. Where's Anu? Anu and Maria, two of my favorite people. Nice to see you. I can see Paul Hedderman too. Wow, very weird. I got the side shot. Yeah. Yeah. Looking rather dashing. Yeah. All right, we've got Craig May. Nice to see you, Craig, as always. We got David. It's a pleasure, David. You're showing up. It's nice to see you. Yeah. We have a nice group here at our house. Yeah. Stefan on having never left. Yes. Mary, G, nice to see you. JP, as always, thank you. Miles, Christine, anyone else?
No, it's just that page.
All right. Hey.
Anu, did you get to India okay?
Yes, I did. Yeah, everything was good too.
Cool.
Nice to see you, Anu, everyone. Hey, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Good night, all.
We'll be back tomorrow, 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock Pacific time.
Or ask,
What?
Anu.
Anu if she's in India or here.
Anu, have you arrived in India?
Yes, I am speaking to you from, yes, from India.
Oh, great, yes. Nice to see you, honey. Get some rest.
Love the Christmas tree. So much, guys. Bye.
Nice to see you.
Bye,
See you,
everybody.
David, everyone. Yes. Stefan, having never left. Great.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
See y'all.
See y'all. See
Yeah.
y'all. See y'all.
Oh, and Steve from Germany just
All
arrived.
right, so.
Steve in Germany.
Meeting.
Yes.
You wanna-
Yes, somebody enthusiastic. Let's go. Okay, this place where we're going, it's one of the few ones around here that is open late. So it's a pizza place. I hope you guys are okay. They have gluten-free or just regular pizza. It's not an upscale place or anything like that. It's close by.
All right. Call me.
Call them.
Yeah, I definitely will.
It's on Mars.
I will. I was up Southern Idaho a few years ago.
I was there. I saw you there.
Oh, yeah, that lava.
Yeah, lava, yeah.
You always, oh, they see you.
That guy is great. He's like, big guy.
Yeah.
Yes. He came out here. He stayed with someone in Toronto.
Yeah, that was fun. And then I met their
Yeah, I really like your
controversial. Yeah. Glad I made it.
anybody else.
We have to talk later. I got up
Good.
before this morning.
Really good.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of nonstop since then.
Oh, yeah.
I got some crap.
Oh,
Nice to meet you. I do remember you from the website.
Is this yours?
You, I don't.
I have been.
You're an enigma.
I am.
Yeah. Nice to see you though. You gonna be spending a lot of time this weekend, or you gonna go back?
I might go. I'm gonna fly out Sunday, so I might show up tomorrow night.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 7 again tomorrow, and then there's a 1 o'clock, and then whatever we do.
Go to 1 o'clock here, I'll take one.
Oh, that's okay.
Always taking